So look, this camera right here. I just asked the team earlier. It's gotta be a blooper. You gotta show the bloopers, though. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome to another edition of Consult Lemonade Sweet and Sour Tech Talk. I believe this is episode 36. Wow. We created this segment to do something a little different. We noticed that on social media, on YouTube, and I can't even lie, sometimes I do cut on those platforms to kind of get a little bit of a sugar rush. It's like, oh, this is a great beach. Oh, this is a great country to travel to. Oh, I wish I had this car. All of these things are forward thinking, futuristic, and they kind of help me to escape the reality. Well, the intention of the Sweet and Sour Tech Talk isn't just to share the fruit of what has transpired, but it's also to share the labor. Everybody wants the glory, but a lot of times people do not know the story. And so the intention of this segment is to ensure that you understand that there's a story behind the glory. Let's get it going. So, what's the reality? There are tens of thousands, as a matter of fact, hundreds of thousands of open roles right now on LinkedIn. And people might be surprised by that. You know, just a few days ago, I was searching on LinkedIn and I'm looking up SDLC because we had a training this past week for our members. And I'll explain that a little later. But the software development lifecycle is a critical component in honestly understanding anything that has to do with the tech industry. Whether you're designing, whether you're doing some form of implementation, whether you're doing some sort of development, maintenance, testing. Yeah, I'm out of order because I'm just naming them because you see all facets of this all across your everyday walk of life. And so we had a few dozen people join into our training and they were surprised. They saw a path for themselves. For some of them, they were interested in coding. For others, they were interested in testing. Someone else never saw a path for herself, always feeling that HR was the only way for her to be serving in some sort of tech company or organization. And she started to open her mind to potential program management roles or project management roles simply because she was able to take part in the SDLC class. That's what we do here at Consult Lemonade. It's about lifting up the hood, figuring out what's going on. But before we even go there, let's rewind a little bit. Anybody familiar with the Waze app? And no, this is not a Waze plug. Like, let's just be real. I love the Waze app because I can put in any destination. And if I happen to hit a roadblock or a detour, it's just going to reroute me. And our intention, what we do faithfully here at Consult Lemonade, is continually ask, what is your destination? What is it that you want to accomplish in the next 6, 12, 24 months? And whatever you say that goal is, you can come and say, hey, I just want to increase my salary by $10, $20, $30,000. I want to double my income. You know, I want to buy a home for my family, because we're going to ask you those things too. It's just not enough to make money. What do you want to do with the money? What type of impact do you want to have? We're going to ask you those questions. And then once we know that destination, you're going to get recommendations on how to get there, simply based on what you said about where you wanted to go. All right. So the reality, hundreds of thousands of jobs that are open right now. Many people are applying and they don't fully understand the foundational skills people expect. You want to be proficient at a good amount of things. And we started this company or this organization more so because we understood that people in underserved, underrepresented, or more so underestimated communities, they know how to make things work. All right, let's ask yourself this question. How many times have you or someone you know, maybe even your mom, maybe your dad? My dad did not cook. Well, actually, he figured it out with oodles and noodles. But how many times did your parents go into the refrigerator and make a few things stretch into something spectacular. How many times have you looked in your bank account, maybe it's just me, and said, okay, I got to get creative on how I make this work to manage my responsibilities? How many times? How many times have you seen a friend on a playground or two friends and they're going back and forth and fighting over a toy, or, maybe you're older and you've experienced those things and you've been the person in the middle trying to mediate? See, these are characteristics or what we call soft skills, or in reality, troubleshooting skills, problem solving skills, that type of mindset. Someone who always is thinking, how do I get there? How do I figure this out? We call that figure out ability. And if you have that skill set, tech is right for you. All right, so let's talk some facts. Facts. Not truth, we're not going there. Jeremiah 1:5, before you were formed in your mother's womb, before you were born, God knew you, he set you apart. He anointed you and appointed you to be great in this earth. That's truth. That's something that will never, ever change. But let's talk some facts. Facts are changing. And it's such thing as fake news. How many of you guys have a LinkedIn? I hope every single person that's watching this, whether live on the premiere. First of all, let me stop right there. Did you click the subscribe button? Because the crew's going to get mad at me if I don't say that. And so how many of you guys have a LinkedIn? If I go on LinkedIn right now, which I have it right before me, and I type in cybersecurity, there's over 100,000 jobs. 100,000 jobs in cybersecurity. If I type in engineering, there's over 354,000 jobs just by typing in engineering. If I type in project management, there's over 4,000 jobs in project management. And that doesn't surprise me. But watch what happens when I type in product manager. There are over 13,000 jobs in product management. What am I saying? If you start calculating the numbers, we throw in SDLC. If I even put in IT, information technology, how many? 42,000 jobs. This is well over 500,000 open roles right now on LinkedIn. I guess people are going to say the next thing. Well, some of these jobs are not real. Well, I'm grateful for the problem that Consult Lemonade has today. Do you know what that problem is? We have more jobs than we have people that are ready to receive them. I really hope you do apply to be a part of our next cohort. So on your new LinkedIn, new or old, whether you have an account, before you got on this Tech Talk today, make sure you got one. Because when you look up this information, you're going to see it for yourself. There are more than 500,000 jobs that are available for you today. And so what we do as an organization, we want to know, where is the market going? Who's hiring? Who's firing? Who's pivoting? Where are they pivoting? That's why some of our best partnerships come from companies both big and small. If you take AWS, for example, they're one of the largest employers in the entire globe. When we see them make a shift in their hiring, we know that the industry is either very close, either a few steps ahead or a few steps behind, but the industry is very close to the precedent that they're setting. So what are they looking for? They've made it very clear. AI is important. Well, am I going to lose my job to AI? No. But it's a chance that you could lose a job if you're not willing to upskill and learn AI. For somebody that's like, well, this is ridiculous. Why would I want to learn this? I can't believe we're shifting to this. AI's taking over the world, humanoids, all of that great stuff. I want you to reach into your pocket and take out your cell phone. And I want you to imagine that you're at the Thanksgiving table and you got your cell phone on you. And your cousin to the right pulls out their rotary phone. Now, where are they plugging that up at? And then you look to your cousin to the left and they're using Morse code. So there, I don't even know how to do it. Never in my life did I learn Morse code, but I've seen it in a movie. So either way, there's a communication disconnect. Let me get this straight. Everybody who's advancing economically is utilizing a cell phone. I know I got to get a new case, but anyway, everybody that's advancing economically is using a cell phone. But my cousin to my right is using a rotary phone, and my family member to my left is using Morse code. They're not going to be able to connect and be in tune with where the economy is going. And so if they showed up to a job today and said, hey, cousin Tierra, I'm ready to be hired. I got a ton of rotary phone experience. They're not getting hired. The skills are outdated. Technology is going to continue to advance, and that's exactly what we're saying. So what we did was take a look at what some of our partners, some of our coaches, our trainers, slight plug right there, coaches and trainers at Consult Lemonade are experts in the industry. That means they have well over 10,000 hours of experience on the job in the domain that they're actually teaching on. Powerful. And 90% of our coaches and trainers are actively working in the same field that they teach on. Some of them have been doing it for 30, 40 years, so they're no longer doing it every single day. So somebody's coming in, teaching you something that they live every day, which means that they're aware of how the industry is pivoting too. So we take some of that information, some information from our partners, and we take a look at other sources to see what is how is the market trending? What do we need to do to ensure people are prepared? We're looking at research papers. We have somebody dedicated to finding out what's the latest and the greatest and the things that they're talking about. Are we even talking about quantum? We have to go there. That's another thing that's coming down the pipeline. And we say, okay, what are the basics that people need to know? And this is where we go to core training. Before I get into the basics, let's make something very clear. I've gotten a few calls as of late. I got my friend. I want to get into the program. My cousin, I need them to get a job. Baby, we want all of them to thrive. But there is a process. The process is you go to the website today. You hit the apply button. I'd imagine at this point, somebody from our marketing team is probably putting some sort of button or some sort of example of the website right there. So you're going to hit the apply button and you're going to fill out the candidate form. This is how you begin your journey. We're going to clap for you. Exciting. Then you will have the option to attend an orientation. Orientations happen 3 times a year. How many times? 3 times a year. That's in January, that's in May, and that's in September. And at orientation, you get to make the decision. Do I want to commit from going to a candidate to a member? So what type of commitment is required for a member? Well, we found that many people were not following up on the opportunity when it was just given out. How do we verify and validate that we're putting the best of the best of the best out there? And we were doing our darnest to verify and validate it. And honestly, we did a great job at it. It helped us grow some great rapport in the industry, but it wore us out because it wasn't a system. So we changed the system a bit and we put in some foundational core programming that I'm going to go over in just a little bit. We added some advanced training, and all of that is related to what the industry is saying, what the coaches and trainers are saying, and what our research and partners are telling us about what's necessary for your toolbox in terms of you getting the bag in 2026 and beyond. So after you become a member, you get full access to the digital training platform. You get full access to a one-on-one assigned coach. Not just any coach, a coach that is specific to the domain that you're interested in, the domain that you need it most. And that honestly could look like vision. That honestly could look like engineering. That honestly could look like cybersecurity. It could look like artificial intelligence. It truly depends on you. And we're going to partner in your journey together. Of course, after you make a decision to make a commitment. And you'll get access to all of that activity, those exercises, the on-demand platform, our AI tool, and those human coaches for 12 months. Here's the even doper part. What happens if I get a job? Excellent. You have access to your coach for 12 months after you're hired. Because we know things are going to happen. New discoveries are going to come up. You're going to be like, hey, I thought I knew this, but I don't know this. Do you have access to resources? And you'll still have access to that coach and the other coaches for at least 12 months. Tell me that's not powerful. All right, so let's come back. Let's talk about this core programming that's the foundation for you being ready for your next job. IT and network fundamentals. These are things where we cover basic computer hardware and software. Think about assembling, disassembling, troubleshooting, hardware components, the fundamentals of networking, including configuration and maintenance. This is about you taking your problem-solving mindset and thinking and applying it to common IT issues. This really could prepare you for your CompTIA A+ or your Network Plus certification. I mention those because how we ended up finding out that this was a necessary course is that people are going into the field and they don't understand how their expertise is impacting hardware. They don't understand that software doesn't exist without hardware. If you are powered with information and empowered to utilize it, just imagine how powerful you would be. I feel like my husband with the play on words. Bonus is all our partners said this was necessary. Let's look at the next training. All right, so let's look at Agile Foundation. This is another course that's offered every single semester. I went over the semesters. What are the semesters again? January, May, September. And if you remember, you get access how many months? 12 months. And if you're hired at any time, at that point, you get a what? You get 12 months of additional support from your assigned coach and the other coaches. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at Agile. This is one of my favorites. Why? The mindset is necessary in tech. You're going to go into a space and you're going to find that, what they said yesterday is not what they said today. So when we're talking about Agile, you're going to need to have an Agile mindset in the first place. But this is about gaining core knowledge, core principles, core hands-on practice to be proficient in Scrum, Kanban frameworks, and application and project management. This is about mastering Jira. How do you know how to use the tool? Confluence. These are everyday tools that are utilized in over 80% of tech jobs. How many? 80% of tech jobs. This is about you understand how to integrate Confluence and Jira. You're learning practical skills. You're using it for practical assessments. And you're also applying it in a simulated environment. What does that mean? It's almost like you're at the job. That's our intention. We want it to be a little stressful for you so we can coach you through that experience. That's another training that's added to our core programming. Let's shift to foundations of cybersecurity. Everybody gets so excited about that. Well, I would too, because I think that was how many rows was that? A lot. What's that song? A lot. A lot. If we name a role in tech, I'm going to say a lot. A lot. Okay. All right. So foundations of cybersecurity. This is understanding the basic concept of information security and identifying common cyber threats. I was looking at some jobs recently alongside our coaching and training team, and the requirements alone were that basic. The requirements alone were that basic. It wasn't a lot of hands-on technical skill requirement. It was more about understanding concepts. Do you get it? Do you have a natural inclination to problem solve? Do you have a natural inclination to work with a team? Or even so, will you be intentional about it? And so then you have the audacity to throw in a class about cybersecurity, where you're learning the importance of security policies, cyber best practices. You're learning skills and basic risk assessment and management in the context of cybersecurity. I'm telling you guys, if I look up the risk management framework, it's all over the internet. If I look up GRC, it's all over the internet. I myself am serving in a policy role right now as a cyber systems engineer. You know, those roles are all over the internet, especially when we're talking about AI. Governance and cybersecurity and AI, there's this necessary conversation that has to take place. We're far away from the policies that need to be in place. And so it's hard to find a space for you in cybersecurity. It's hard to find a space that's not for you in cybersecurity. There has to be one that's available if you want it. All right. So last, you're going to develop some cybersecurity concept to real world case studies. Find out, how did they hack people in the first place? Was it social engineering? Who knows? It's different ways to do it. You're going to discover that in that session, in that training. All right, last but not least, in terms of core programming. Again, what's core programming? Core programming exists every single semester. This is what you get as a what? As a member. And as a member, you get access to this what? 12 months from your start date. And what happens if I get hired? At any point in time, you get an additional 12 months of support from your coach and the coaching squad. Last but not least, software development lifecycle. Gotta love this. Okay. I'm blown away that something so simple is so pivotal in the direction that tech is going into. I mean, there isn't anything that we consume today in terms of tech that doesn't leverage the SDLC. People use Instagram. You will see this on YouTube. You will see this on whatever platforms that it's posted on. I'm certain that if it's some software involved in it, that it utilizes the software development lifecycle. I would bet on it. And so this is about breaking down the fundamental phases of SDLC, understanding the roles and the roles responsibility in each one of those phases. How does development processes contribute to building reliable systems and products? What are the practical skills that are needed? And how do you actually get to practice those practical skills? How are they tested? These are all things that are unlocked at the software development lifecycle. This specific training unlocked job growth for me that I had never imagined in my life. I was new to this concept as of maybe 8 years ago. About 8 years ago. And I have seen career growth that I've never seen before simply because of the SDLC. If you do not understand this, it's almost impossible to succeed in tech. Just a simple understanding of this. And so we are equipping you with basic tools to be successful in whatever domain you decide to double down in. When we're talking about domain, I'm going to shoot out some specialized add-on trainings that are in addition to the core programming. Core programming happens what? Every single semester. So you get additional specialized training such as artificial intelligence and emerging technology. And one, you're going to learn the core foundations. And another, AI part 2, you're going to learn how to actually build an agent. We're not going into the latest and the greatest. I won't touch on Anthropic. But specifically, this is about you learning how to build an agent, to build a single agent, not something that's multi or agentic as you would hear. Jira training. This is the basics of the tool. This is giving you an even more in-depth look at Jira and Confluence. Tools that are necessary in almost 80% of the jobs that you're going to see. Virtual machines. This is compiled of Linux, installing and configuring virtualization technology, such as VMware, VirtualBox. How do you deploy, configure, and manage virtual machines? You'll need to understand these concepts, but more importantly, you're going to get hands-on training. Vulnerability management. That should sound familiar. Scrum Master certification. Cyber risk management framework. Zero trust. We're going to have labs. Virtual labs that you'll be able to partake in to do certain projects. And every single role comes with a project plan of things you will need to complete and will validate for assessment, and that will go in your portfolio. And we know that this person has been stamped. So that sums up what we offer as an organization in terms of training. The cool part is that training is forever changing. What does that mean? If somebody comes in today and say, AT, we got to pivot. This is what this domain is doing now. We're shifting. And that's exciting because you're getting the latest and greatest in tech simply by becoming a member. All right. So what do we got coming up next? This is March. And so when you see this, you will be just in time for March AI training if you are a member. I won't touch on that just yet. Artificial intelligence, emerging technology is something that's going to absolutely blow your mind. You will have access to a computer the entire day, whether you bring your own laptop or we're providing the actual device for you. You'll be in the lab for the day. Breakfast and lunch is provided in each and every one of our trainings. And this is your way of being exposed to experts in the industry, being able to ask those questions, but you're literally going to learn and produce products from artificial intelligence for the day. So in addition of you absorbing information, you're actually going to produce something that can contribute to bettering your life. We've seen people start businesses from coming to some of these trainings, which is crazy. We've seen people obviously get jobs, create agents for themselves that have made life much easier for them simply by attending this training. And that training is coming up on March the 21st at our headquarters, which you can only get access if you are a member. How exciting. So let's touch on this training just a little bit. Why do we repeat trainings? This is a question that comes up. No two trainings are ever the same here. Never have we had two trainings that are exactly the same, because every single class, every single training is updated to reflect the latest and the greatest in industry. I touched on this earlier. Where do we get the latest and greatest information? It's not just research. It's not just industry and our partners. We have actual trainers and coaches that are living this faithfully every day and know exactly what's happening. And they come back and say, we got to pivot. This happens every single week. We have conversations, but specifically there are bi-weekly meetings, which we say, how do we need to update this? You will never get the same training at Consult Lemonade. No two trainers are ever the same. Tech evolve, case studies change, depth increases, growth requires repetition. I cannot touch on this enough. I haven't gotten a job. How many times have you worked? Or let me say it like this. This camera over here, I was earlier joking around. I said, let me make sure it's got me looking like I got a six pack because I'm trying to get ready for the summer. But in reality, if I go work out one day a week, baby, that six pack is not coming no sooner. It takes reps. It takes reps. If I go to the gym 3, 4, and 5 times a week, my outcomes are looking way different if I go one time a week. So when somebody comes to CL or any organization, but specifically to Consult Lemonade, and they say, I didn't get a job after meeting with my coach for a month. I mean, that's great. How many reps did you get? How many trainings did you attend? What we've also found is that people that meet with their coach 2 to 3 times a month are 4 times more likely to get a role within 6 months than anybody. We did a poll in the class. Every single person that had met with their coach 2 to 3 times a month had a job since being at Consult Lemonade. And it was other people in the room who had not raised their hand that had met with their coach 1 time or less each month. They had not gotten a job. You have access to training. You have access to expertise. Get your reps up. I've attended a training before. It's called the same thing. My church name has never changed. I go to Union Church every week. And you know what happens? The sermons change. Do you know what happens even for, and not at my church, but do you know what happens when I've gone to different conferences and I've heard people preach the same sermon that they've said multiple times? They tweak it in some capacity. Something's changed. For us, we took information from industry, we took information from Our partners, we took information from research, and more importantly, we took information from the people that are living it every single day and said, the training's got to be updated. I could not believe the last AI training. We had a curriculum 24 hours before. Do you know that curriculum got updated because an update was released at midnight the day of the training? So the information was updated to reflect that update? I have never in my life seen real-time updates more than what happens inside of this organization. So why do we repeat trainings? Because you should have repeat trips to the gym. If you want repeat trips to the bank, you should repeat trips to training. All right. So let's close with the benefits of CO. CO membership. I said this earlier. You start as a candidate, you attend orientation, you make a decision to go from I'm interested to I'm committed. It's semester-based training. Every single semester you get core programming. Love it. And then you get advanced training. And I listed just a few. I don't have time to stay on here all day to list our advanced training. But it happens. It's updated frequently. I think we just added something else yesterday. I was like, man, they're going to be mad at me. But you won't. The team might. It's cost effective. Let me touch on this a little bit. What we found was that people's investment in time in themselves did not match the level of investment we were given as an organization. We were providing opportunities and they wouldn't show up. And when I say they wouldn't show up their full self. A lot changed when we implemented our membership platform. And so for $199 a year, which is a donation, you can write it off. I don't even know how many cups of coffee that is a month. I think people spend that a month on Starbucks. You know who you are. But nevertheless, for less than $200 a year, you get access to a person. Touch yourself, like a human that has been in the industry, knows this expertise, knows the domain, and you can meet them every single week for a year. That alone is priceless. And then we add on-demand digital training, and then we add on actual training, and then our training has CEUs tied to it, and then our training is accredited because our affiliation with a local college that looked at our catalog and said, this is really good. We stamped this. We love what you guys are doing. It's critical in workforce development. Look, guys, career prep sessions with your coach, access to our hiring partners, to me is the biggest deal. The fact that somebody on your behalf can say, you know, I've seen this guy, Carl Nelson. He's done a phenomenal job. I've seen Shamari. I've seen Tony. I've seen Keisha, Isha, Renee. I don't know the DMX song from off the top of my head, but the point is, look, I've watched them. I've watched them progress in their career. I've watched them put in the work and do the training in preparation for the next role. They're looking for a job in this domain. They're good at this, this, and this. And they expect to have a salary of $100,000 or more. We send dozens of those out faithfully. And it's beautiful when we love to hear, they've been hired. I got an interview. I got my offer letter. And then the craziest part is I'm like, dang, we were with you every single step of the way, and then you sign the offer letter. We could have helped you through that process too. Why? Because you get access to a coach at any time to meet every single week for an entire year. And what happens if I get hired? I get access to my coach for an additional 12 months after that. So semester 2 is coming. Will you be ready? And if you're already a member and I've listed out some things and you recognize, look, baby, I've been going to the gym once a year, once a quarter, and I don't see the level of income that I desire. I don't see the outcomes and the results that I want. No problem. Tap back in. Reach out to your coach today. We want to support your journey. We want you to be successful in this. And so when life hands you lemons, which I'm certain it is, God knows I'm sick of seeing things on the news. I'm sick of the lies that AI is taking over and it's going to be a disaster and nothing's going to work. We do not subscribe to that. We are operating in the kingdom with the kingdom mindset. So what happens in the world doesn't happen to us. And I just showed you practically that there's over 500,000 jobs on LinkedIn. And I know from emails that we get every single week that there are actual open jobs available today. Here at Consult Lemonade, the issue won't be if I get a job. It will be, I need wisdom to know which job to take. Stop believing the hype. Believe the hope. Thank you guys for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Shout out to the team. Shout out, more importantly, to my amazing husband who I could never do this without. I'm telling y'all, partnership is so necessary in this. I understand the value of partnership more than ever in my life because I see the impact of the lives that are affected by this work. And Mr. Wally Jeremiah Lathan, God has anointed him and appointed him to be a covering, a leader, a co-founder, the father of Consult Lemonade. I'm so grateful for this man and what he represents. More importantly, the belief that he imparts into our community, not just here, but just in general. And so I just want to take a moment and thank my husband for just being him. Thank him for being a partner in his work. Thank him for all of his dedication, mostly behind the scenes, but he's just the freaking best. And shout out to our amazing team who's behind this production, who's behind the everyday calls and texts and emails and outputs and outcomes that you guys are experiencing in our community. This would never happen without them. Last but not least, I want to shout out our partners, TEDCO, the Maryland Innovation Center, Howard County Economic Development, Amazon Web Services, many contractors in the Department of Defense, Sanayu, Savai Consulting, so many companies that we partner with, the people behind the screens, Intern Media. Thank you guys for the great work that you do to make this work possible. Right arm, right leg, left leg. Everybody gets a body part. And it doesn't function well without everybody playing their part. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I just want to publicly thank God for allowing me to serve here as co-founder and CEO of Consult Lemonade. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week. Better yet, I'd rather see your name come in as a notification that you signed up to be ready for the next semester. See you in May.